News Today with Lucy Aharish.
Good evening and welcome to the news today. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. National Security Agency spied on Israel during the nuclear talks between Iran and world powers. Communications between Prime Minister Netanyahu and his aides were reportedly intercepted, as well as phone conversations between top Israeli officials and American lawmakers. Eli Ochenberg, diplomatic correspondent for the news today, has the details.
As time passes, it seems that when it comes to U.S.-Israeli relations, the line between friend and foe has never been so thin.
Under my administration, I'm very proud of the unprecedented military and intelligence cooperation that we have and the consistent support that we provided to Israel's defenses.
But what does this cooperation that U.S. President Barack Obama talks about mean in reality? The NSA bugging on the Israeli premier.
There's a tendency, I think, in the reporting here to frame this somehow as a personal issue between myself and Prime Minister Netanyahu. The issue is not relations between leaders. The issue is a very clear, substantive challenge.
The Wall Street Journal reported Wednesday that the White House authorized the monitoring of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's communications, contradicting Obama's public promise not to spy on U.S. allies after reports emerged that the U.S. had spied on German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
I've made clear to the intelligence community that unless there is a compelling national security purpose, we will not monitor the communications of heads of state and government of our close friends and allies.
The White House did not deny the Wall Street Journal report, nor did it take anyone by surprise. Netanyahu invested intensive efforts to foil the nuclear negotiations of six world powers with Iran at each and every step of the way. And the Americans, well aware of this fact, wanted to know what the Israeli premier was up to.
We have no difference in our goal with respect to our position. We do have some difference in tactics of how you achieve that goal.
At first, Washington feared Israel might attack Iran's nuclear installations without any warning. Later on, when the U.S. began holding clandestine talks with the Islamic Republic, the White House wished to make sure this news would not leak, and so wanted to know what the Israelis know about the secret talks. Netanyahu's massive lobbying campaign against the deal culminated in his uncoordinated partisan speech in the U.S. Congress, accompanied by reports on the Israeli government leaking confidential information from the negotiations to American lawmakers to strengthen the anti-deal case. That probably did not disencourage the Obama administration from eavesdropping.
Exactly that.
The Israelis, however, were reportedly holding their own shady spying project. Israel allegedly deployed a sophisticated computer virus to hack through the cybersecurity in hotels hosting the closed-door nuclear talks.
Think about that.
It's a beautiful day.
The new spy drama only further increases the mistrust between the leaders, perhaps opening the door for yet another crisis in their troubled relations.
Okay, who spied on who, when, and how? And is it that significant? With me here to speak about that is Gad Shimron, former Mossad agent. Good evening.
Good evening.
And Eli Ochenberg, diplomatic correspondent for the news today. Good evening.
Good evening.
So just before we will start talking, if it's okay that friends are spying on each other, Israel, official Israel, what is saying about that?
Of course, denying any allegations that Israel is spying on the U.S. and requesting the same treatment on behalf of Washington as well. But I do want to take you to this quote we've just heard in the report of Obama after the big scandal following the publication of the NSA documents that the U.S. spied on Chancellor Angela Merkel. And he said that the U.S. will not monitor communications of heads of states unless there is a compelling national security purpose. And on this ground, exactly the authorization for monitoring Netanyahu occurred. So Obama viewed, or at least wanted it to look like, there's a serious security danger to the U.S. Unless they will monitor what's going on within the Israeli premier office, and this is maybe the biggest issue here.
Yeah, if I want to just, of course, spying, but if I want to look at it not from the spying point of view, I want to look at it from the relationship between the two countries, maybe to be more specific, the relationship between the two leaders. It is some kind of we can understand the fact that Obama wants to know what Netanyahu thinks about him, and Netanyahu wants to know what Obama thinks about him. So it is okay to listen to friends and to eavesdrop on friends.
I'm very happy to be in this studio, but between us and
the viewers,
it's a no issue and no item. I mean, everybody is spying on everybody. Intelligence is power. And of course, President Obama would like very much to know what this unfriendly leader of this very friendly nation wants to do in the next few days, let's say, attacking Iran or not attacking Iran. Or at the time when there were the negotiations with Iran about the nuclear deal, why is this Mr. Netanyahu mingling in my affairs with congressmen and senators, etc., etc.? I want to know what he's telling them. And it's very legitimate, you know, that he tells the NSA, please bring me any piece of information you get about Mr. Netanyahu calling this and this and this. I think it's a non-item, really.
Let's see if it's really non-item according to the Americans. With us right now, joining us is Martin Himmel, investigative journalist. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, good. So really, is it a non-item for the Americans?
Well, if you look at the news today, what's blasting across the airwaves is the fact that Bill Cosby is finally going to be charged with a sexual assault, and about another runaway boy who killed 4 people while drunk driving. There's not even a whiff of a mention of this in the American media. It is on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, that's true. But Americans are totally disinterested in this.
So, but if we're looking specifically at this specific report, Barack Obama said that he is not going after Angela Merkel, that the United States is not going to eavesdrop on any other leader. And can we say that maybe he, I won't say lie, but didn't quite say the truth?
Well, leaders are constantly lying when it comes to spying and intelligence. If they were to tell the truth, they'd never be able to get any information. So I think that's taken as a given, and probably an acceptable given when he says something like that. Listen, Israel just a short while ago managed to commandeer cameras inside of the negotiation areas where Iran was negotiating with all the powers on the P+1 for the Iran nuclear deal. So everybody's spying on everybody else. It's just a given, and it's all feigned or fake surprise.
Yes, just stay with us, Martin. You know, like we're hearing and like what you were saying, basically Israel and the United States and all the world powers are eavesdropping on eavesdropping. Can you actually prevent it today? Can you actually demand that someone will keep your government privacy alone and won't?
I must say that also in the intelligence world, there are some red lines that you don't cross. I mean, if you read carefully this Wall Street Journal report, it's about something very legitimate, you know. Calling Mr. Bibi Netanyahu is calling USA, the line is crossing the Atlantic Ocean, and on the other side, the NSA is listening. I mean, there's an American problem, by the way, because maybe they listened while a U.S. senator was talking to Bibi Netanyahu, and that's something which the American Constitution doesn't like very much. But that's a different story. About spying, I mean, if there would be an American bug in the bedroom of Mr. Netanyahu and Mrs. Netanyahu, this is a fringe of the, you know, this is a red line, okay? But is dropping telephone lines and things like this, you know, the NSA is working like an electronic Hoover vacuum cleaner, you know, taking everything in, and what comes out, comes out.
You know,
I do want to emphasize something Mr. Shimron said, and by the way, I loved the definition, an unfriendly leader of a very friendly state. Back in 2011, 2012, there was a period of time that Israel completely blocked the Americans regarding what's going on with the possibility of attacking Iran. And American officials woke up every day wondering if Israel will today attack Iran. And this is something Washington, of course, could not afford itself. And later on, Netanyahu probably leaked information from the closed-door negotiations with Tehran to American lawmakers. So many red lines were crossed here, and the Americans maybe didn't have another choice but listening to what's going on inside Netanyahu's room.
Let's ask Martin this. Really, the Americans didn't have any chance but to listen to what is happening in Benjamin Netanyahu's room about maybe the possibility that Israel will or will not attack Iran during the negotiations with world powers?
I'm sure they have many different ways of listening to Mr. Netanyahu. Some work, some don't. They're not going to let us know. They might have even more bizarre ways from what we hear already. It's really not the issue. The issue is that they feel they have to listen, they have to know, because Netanyahu was actively trying to intervene in American politics. He was actively trying to change a decision by influencing the Congress. He's got an armada of lobbyists that he's working with. They want to know what the lobbyists are saying. They could be spying in the lobbyist offices, in his room, in different places. It's immaterial where. The point is they felt they need to know.
Yes, Martin Himmel, thank you very much for this. Before we're finishing, I will ask you, Mr. Shimron, basically we understand that Israeli security, let's say officials and security agencies and American security agencies are cooperating with one another. We understand that basically this deal would have went through whether Benjamin Netanyahu would have liked that or not. So why the Americans were so afraid, why the Americans needed to listen to what Benjamin Netanyahu is planning?
Because information is power. I mean, if you deal with Iran and you're negotiating with Iran and you show them some lines and you give them some offers, and you don't want, the other side to know everything about it. You don't want the Israelis to know everything about it. And, I must tell you, this spying, if you read the Wall Street Journal article to the end, and most people don't read articles to the end, at the end there is one paragraph saying that a few years ago there was a cooperation between the NSA and Unit 8200, which is the Israeli NSA, so to say. And they were exchanging software and hardware, which was used against Iran. And in some of the articles sent by 8200 to the NSA, they found a bug, what we call a Trojan horse, which actually everything that the Americans were doing with this was transferred to Israel. So the Americans said, what is this? We are friends, we are cooperating. And the Israelis said, I'm quoting the article, yeah?
Yes, of course.
And the Israelis said, oh, sorry, a mistake. So the Americans looked at them and say, okay, we also make mistakes. Everybody's doing it. There is
Mistakes between friends or mistakes between enemies?
Right,
this is the question.
Yeah, you cooperate, but you also sometimes hide some things from your best allies.
The difference is same, but different.
Exactly.
Yes, I got you, Ron and Aleo Holberg. Thank you very much for this.